And welcome, sports fans, to today's Roundtable. And glad you joined us for this January edition of the Roundtable, and certainly into pretty much the midpoint of the basketball season, heading into some conference tournaments here before long. Probably, actually, in a couple of weeks, we'll be seeing some conference tournaments in the area, and certainly getting a lot of these conference rivalry games here in January. That's what we see a lot of in January, these conference matchups, rivalry matchups, certainly that we've had over the last couple of weeks through SemoSportsZone.com, and certainly here with YHC TV. We're going to go over those matchups that we've had over the last week, as well as some highlights of the broadcast we've had this week. Dexter versus Bernie, big matchup there from Friday night. We'll down in Bernie, we'll have those highlights here momentarily. Also, the Rector and Piggott broadcast we did out in Arkansas earlier this week that went in overtime. Great matchup there as well. And we'll also touch on, probably touch on the Clarkton and Risco highlights. Big rivalry there in the Tri-County Conference from Thursday night. We'll show that one as well from, that was from Thursday night, I believe that was. So had a lot of games this week. We had 4 games here on YHC TV. Also 2 more games over on the SeMo Sports Zone network as well. So a whole lot of games getting to this month, and even more games this following week. We're going to touch on our broadcast schedule here at YHC and for the larger SeMoSportsZone.com broadcast schedule. Also some state rankings, updated state rankings. It's got some of our local teams in there as well. And also we'll talk about some headlines and also the way the conferences look right now, including the Stoddard County Activity Association Conference Tournament. Those varsity and JV tournaments have been configured, and we'll have those brackets for you here today on today's show, as those have been configured this morning. And also, we're going to take a look at the Dexter versus Bernie historic rivalry. Our good friend Barry Beecham has given us a lot of information going back to their first game back in the 20s all the way until today, and what that rivalry looks like throughout the decades all the way up here to 2021. So we're going to take a look at the historic rivalry of Dexter versus Bernie as well. So a whole lot to get to today. First off, we'll start with the games that we had last night, Friday night in the area. First, starting off with the game that we brought to you here live on YHC and through SeMoSportsZone.com. Dexter and Bernie, big rivalry game. Dexter coming out on top 52-39. Dexter coming out on top in that one. Close game pretty much through 3 quarters of that. Dexter pulling away in the 4th quarter for that double-digit victory, but Bernie was up for much of that game at a halftime lead and into the 3rd quarter, very tight going into the 4th quarter, and Dexter just making the plays late to come away with that key conference victory in the Stoddard County Conference. So let's take a look at the highlights from last night. Let's go ahead and take a look at those.
Gage. Vaughn for 3. Count it.
And we see here Bernie getting off to a great start, getting some 3-pointers to fall. And here we see a 3-pointer falling on the right side and for the Bearcats. And here's changing some 3-pointers in the 1st quarter. And Bernie had the shots falling as Landon Zoll steps into a deep 3 at the top of the key. And you see here a 16-9 lead going into the 2nd quarter. And another 3-pointer falling puts it up to 19-9. Had a double-digit lead there for the Mules in the 2nd quarter. But here we see Dexter starting to get going. Andrew Ellinghouse starting to heat up, getting that 3-pointer to fall. Tough basket there. Tyler Suter, basket and the foul. And we see here 3-pointer. That's Andrew Ellinghouse stepping into another 3. And we see here 3-pointer. That's Jackson Allen knocking it down on the left side. And here into the 2nd half. Nice putback. I think it was Noah Foster with that putback. And here we see Dylan Seitz coming up with some big baskets in this 2nd half. We see a drive to the basket there. And we see here another drive and finish. And we see here out on the break, Carter Dorton, nice assist for the finish in the open court for the Bearcats. And here 3-pointer Johnny Vaughn stepping into that one, knocking that down. And we see here Andrew Ellinghouse, nice step through up off the glass underneath And we see here Dylan Seitz with another nice finish and the foul. He had some key buckets for the Bearcats here. Now we got into the fourth quarter. This is where Dexter really starts to pull away. Nice dump down finish for Ellinghaus. And here it's all in the transition at this point as Dorton gets that one to fall. And here is Bernie really starting to press. And now we're seeing some transition buckets for the Bearcats. And as you see there, Dexter getting a lot of transition buckets there late. Bernie had to go to the full court press, try to get some extra possessions, and Dexter handled the press well. Actually got some transition buckets against that press that really pushed it out. So really, it come out being a 13-point game. It was right there about a 6-point game for the last few possessions. Dexter able to get some transition buckets. Bernie unable to answer, but it was a nip-tuck game all the way till the end. And Dexter just took care of the ball late, didn't turn it over, got some easy points to push that out to a double-digit victory. But it was a typical Dexter-Bernie fight battle through 3 quarters of that game, probably even some into the fourth quarter. And Bernie don't have a lot of depth and certainly have to bring the pressure late, and Dexter handled it well to secure the victory. So we might see these teams once again down the road. You never know in the conference tournament, but always a privilege to cover this rivalry between these two. It's always a close game regardless of typically how the teams are up and down year in, year out. It's always a dogfight, and certainly was the case last night. And Bernie got up 10 points, over 10 points of a lead in that first half. Dexter started chipping away and secured that victory in the end in that varsity matchup. So we're going to take more of a look at that and take a look at that Stoddard County Conference, even the SEMO Conference, as Dexter plays in both the SEMO and the Stoddard County Conference, how they look going forward, as well as that Dexter-Bernie rivalry. We got some good facts for you for today in that rivalry going back all the way to the 20s, and we'll touch on that a little later. And taking a look at the other games in the area, New Matter County Central, Cape Central, a key SEMO Conference game there. New Matter comes out on top 49-25. No problem for the Eagles last night. Notre Dame over Kennett also in the SEMO Conference 71-35. Charleston over Scott County Central, no problem, 81-48. Then we've got Kirkwood over Poplar Bluff, and that was in a tournament championship, 47-39. Saxony Lutheran over Valley Catholic, 53-28. Twin Rivers over Clearwater, 56-38. That's over in the Ozark Foothills Conference. Advance over Richland in the Stoddard County Conference, no problem, 103-60. Then we got East Carter over Van Buren, 61-53 over in the Ozark Foothills Conference. That's a big rivalry game there between those two. Orion over St. Vincent, 55-50. East Prairie over Caruthersville, 73-66. Kelly over Chaffee in a game that we brought to you live on SEMOSportZone.com and also on Local 95 on the Go SEMO Fiber, 60-54. Kelly over Chaffee, and that was in the Scott, Mississippi Conference. Portageville over South Pemiscot, a Boot Hill Conference matchup there, 63-44. The Portageville Bulldogs looking good here to start 21. Mullet over Bloomfield, 67-57. Scott City over Jefferson, 74-63. Delta over Bell City, 94-72. Meadow Heights over Woodland, 67-52. Zenith Hornersville over Risco, 69-56. Zenith Hornersville getting a couple victories over the Tri-County Conference opponents. They're in the Boot Hill Conference, but defeated Clarkton earlier in the week that we brought here on YHC, and then Risco last night. Zenith Hornersville, not bad. Got a couple pretty good players there in Parker Rue and Nolan Hunter. Got some pretty good guards there for Zenith Hornersville. Neelyville over Hawcom into triple overtime in this one, 75-72. Neelyville outlasts Hawcom in that matchup. Donovan over Naylor over in the Ozark Foothills Conference, 81-48. Then Campbell over Hayti. It's a big Boot Hill Conference matchup there, 100-66. Campbell securing that key Boot Hill Conference win. Cooter over Delta C7, the Tri-County Conference, 61-51. Clarkton over Gideon in the Tri-County Conference, 52-44. East Prairie over Crothersville, we touched on that one a little earlier, and those are the games from Friday night in the area, and some key conference games there from this week, especially last night in the area. And to take a look at those replays here on YHC, Dexter versus Bernie, you can catch that one replay today. It's going to be on closer to about 1 o'clock today on Saturday. Dexter versus Bernie at 1 o'clock on Saturday, again at 6:30, and then Sunday afternoon at 1. And then the Rector and Piggott broadcast from Thursday night, we'll replay that one today. That'll be closer to about, it'll be about, what's that going to be? About 2:30 on Saturday. 2:30 at Saturday, and then again 8 p.m. on Saturday, and then Sunday afternoon at 2:30. And you can watch those anytime. Go to yhctv.com. or our Facebook and YouTube pages. You can watch those on demand online through our online platforms. And we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to touch on some headlines from the area. Also take a look at those Rector and Piggott highlights. Also, we're going to touch on the Clarkton and Risco highlights from Thursday as well. So we're going to take a break and come back with that coming up.
A bundle. It's more than a combo deal. It's not just stuff. This is your home, your car, and you want to give them the protection they deserve with home and auto insurance. State Farm agents get it. It's why they're here.
In Dexter, talk to State Farm agent Chris Brannon today.
A few days ago, we had a customer come by the Kent dealership looking for a new truck. I had a really good visit with Phil and our salesman. Phil had his Army t-shirt and Army cap on, retired military. We're so proud of our troops, our active and veterans like Phil. Phil left in his new truck. We all enjoyed the visit. Best price, best service. Glenn Sane, and God bless our troops.
Sorry about that, unmuted. And let's take a look at some highlights from earlier in the week. Had a busy week this week, 4 games alone here on YHC this week. Looking for another 4 games this next week as well. But let's touch on the Clarkton and Risco highlights from Thursday night. And we only got second half highlights. Had some tech problems in the first half. Got some highlights from the second half from Risco, and that one went down to the wire at Risco on Thursday. And let's take a look at those highlights from Thursday night. And we see here early on, nice dribble in and finish there. I think that was Morgan on that one, Owen Morgan. Here we see nice put in there by Pipkin. And we see here a nice basket there for the Reindeer. Here we see Isaiah Gorman with a nice drive dish off and a finish there. We got a close one into the fourth quarter. 3-pointer on the right side. That was, I think that was either Morgan or Coleman there. Sorry, didn't catch that one. But a nice basket there for Owen Morgan getting it to go. And here we see another basket there. That was Cameron Meesey with a nice put in. Nice drive and finish here. The Reindeer getting it close here. Nice transition bucket to cut the Clarkton lead down to 2. And we see here nice put in there to extend the lead back to 4 for the Reindeer. But we see here a nice drive by Meesey, dished off for the bucket. And here we got Risco up 1, now going up 2 with the bucket by Cameron Meesey. And they get that victory. I believe that one was 53-50. 50, if I'm not mistaken, in that final from Thursday night at Risco, and a great matchup there between those two. Big rivalry between those two, Clarkton and Risco coming out on top of that one from Thursday night. So impressive game there between those two. Is always pretty contentious, much like we talk like the Bernie and Advance as well, and a very impressive game between those two Thursday night. And man, I'm trying to catch. Yeah, not gonna be able to show that Rector and Piggott on this monitor. Not able to get those. It looks like. Sorry about that. But let's move on to the headlines from this week to take away. And what a week it was. We had some great conference matchups. Dexter defeating Bernie to secure the top Stoddard County seed, Stoddard County Activity Association seed. And that was pretty much going to be riding on this game, even though Bernie did lose to Advance earlier in the week. Advance might have had a shot to get that top seed if Bernie were to knock off Dexter, but Dexter knocks off Bernie. They secure that top seed. We'll take a look at that bracket here just shortly. But key win for Dexter, getting win over Bernie to go into that seed meeting here Saturday morning for the conference, and they do secure that top seed. Let's go ahead and take a look at the brackets for the Stoddard County Varsity Tournament and JV Tournament, which is going to be taking place in Bloomfield this year. And Dexter with the top seed, they'll take on 8th seed at Bloomfield in the first round. And also in the first round, 4th seed at Woodland will take on 5th Richland. 2nd Advance versus 7th Bell City. And 3rd Bernie versus 6th Puxico. Those are your first round matchups and seeds for the Stoddard County Activity Association Varsity Tournament at Bloomfield. And that'll be getting underway the week after this coming week in Bloomfield. So we'll be covering the finals of that, which will be on a Saturday. They're actually going to include the consolation tournament once again this year, and so we'll have the final 6 games: the consolation, third place, and finals. Consolation, third place, and finals of the JV and varsity tournaments, and that'll be 6 games on the Saturday. 2 Saturdays from now at Bloomfield. And that'll start around noon for that Saturday. And for the JV tournament, Bernie securing the top seed, as there's only 7 teams in the JV tournament. They'll have a first round bye. They'll take on the winner of 4th seed at Puxico and 5th Woodland. Also, we have 2nd Advance versus 7th Bloomfield, 3rd Dexter versus 6th Bell City. And those are your first round matchups for that JV tournament, also in Bloomfield. And that's your Stoddard County tournament for this year. Dexter, going to have that number 1 seed and looking good. Certainly probably see them in the finals, matching up against probably Bernie or Advance. And that was a 1-point game earlier in the week. I think that was a Tuesday night. Advance edged Bernie by 1 point, 41-40 earlier in the week. So that could be certainly a close semifinal matchup once again there between Advance and Bernie. And take a look at some other headlines from the area. New Madrid County Central on a roll this year, undefeated so far on the year, and securing another conference victory last night over Cape Central. Cape Central, one of the top teams in the conference, and Cape Central getting a nice victory over them, handled them pretty well. I think it was 49-25, no problem for the Eagles last night up at Cape Central. Cape Central taking 2 conference losses in the last week. Dexter defeated them 52-50 last Friday night, and taking a loss last night to New Madrid County Central. So Cape Central down in the standings right now with those 2 conference losses. Dexter having 2 conference wins of their own, I believe, now at this point, over Jackson and Cape Central from last Friday night. So big matchup this Friday night as the Bearcats will travel over to New Madrid to take on the Central Eagles, and both potentially going to be undefeated going into that matchup. So that could be your conference regular season conference tournament championship there potentially. We'll see how the conference plays out, but it certainly could be. But certainly at this point, either team would have the upper edge in conference play going forward. I believe Notre Dame still is undefeated, I believe, even though they did lose to Cape Central in that Christmas tournament final up at Cape Central. It's not a conference matchup, but I think Notre Dame's still right there in the mix as well, I do believe. So we'll see. But it's going to be a big matchup next Friday night between Dexter and New Madrid, and of course we'll have it right here on Channel 21, YHC TV. So look forward to that. And also we've got Clarkton. Clarkton edging Gideon in that key Tri-County Conference matchup. And that was a close one, 52-44 victory for Clarkton. And they stay alive in that Tri-County hunt as well. And did take that loss to Risco, but a key win over Gideon last night. So Clarkton not looking bad at this point of the season either. And Campbell defeating Hayti. What a win there for the Campbell Camels. They coming off a Christmas tournament victory down at St. Hornersville and getting some big wins here in the conference. Got one over Hayti. Right now it looks like Campbell and Portageville are going to be at the top of that conference right now. Those two teams seem to be playing the best so far at this point of the year. St. Hornersville looking pretty strong as well, but Campbell did defeat St. in that St. Hornersville conference tournament. But right now it looks like Campbell and Portageville going to be at the top of that conference. We'll see how it plays out, but I don't know where they're at in the schedule when they play each other, but sure would be a great matchup between those two. Excuse me. But Campbell looking really strong. Only, I think, one loss on the year, I'm thinking, at this point against Charleston. So Campbell going to be hosting that Boot Hill Conference tournament this year. So you got to look out for that, having the home court advantage for that conference tournament. And we're looking forward to more of Campbell's games down the road, which we'll have here on YHC. And that's pretty much kind of the headlines to take a look at for this week. And we're going to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to come back with some updated state rankings for high school basketball for the state of Missouri. And also talk about our unveiling of our very own poll here at Seymour Sports Zone. And we'll talk about that, and we will talk about the Bernie versus Dexter rivalry, historic Stoddard County rivalry. We got some historic facts on that. That'll be fun to take a look back on, all the way going back to the 1920s. And we're going to come back with that in just a moment.
Maintain a local presence. My name is Matt Tanner. I'm the president of First State Community Bank in Sykeston. Being part of a community-based bank for me is the top priority. We have our roots here. We provide jobs here. We give back to our school. We provide scholarships. That is of utmost importance to us, besides taking care of our customers. And we have the resources of a large bank, but the ability to maintain a local presence and local decision making, a local board, is an absolute astounding thing in this day and age of banking. I am Matt Tanner. I am First State Community Bank.
And welcome back. And before we get to some things, we want to remind you that SemoSportZone.com looks to have its completion after this weekend, heading into this next week. Check that out at SemoSportZone.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook page, and check out our website there at SemoSportZone.com later this week, probably at the start of the week. Looking to have that completed. And also starting Monday, we're going to unveil and debut our SemoSportZone.com top 25 boys basketball poll. We're going to bring that to you starting Monday. We had that years ago on SemoSportZone.com and got away from it for a few years, but bringing that back starting Monday, the top 25 poll that will carry each week through the end of the regular season at SemoSportZone.com. So look forward to that. We will unveil that Monday and also bring that to you each Saturday here on the Sports Roundtable. And let's talk about some state rankings for the state of Missouri. For Class 1, South Iron remaining on top at number 1, followed by Lockwood, Then Mound City, Winston, Golden City, Green City, Leeton, Jefferson, Northwestern of Minden, and Chadwick, rounding out the top 10 for Class 1. Moving up to Class 2, Lakeland once again this week, followed by Crane, Mid-Buchanan, the Campbell Camels. I believe they move up to number 4 from number 5, if I'm not mistaken. So Campbell looking strong in those state rankings there at number 4, followed by Princeton, Oran. The Oran Eagles there at number 6. Harrisburg, Wellington Napoleon, Western, and Smithton. And moving up to Class 3, Greenwood on top at number 1, followed by Hartville. Would be a great matchup between those two. I'm not sure where they would match up in a potential postseason matchup, but sure would be a good one there between those two. Greenwood headed up by Aminu Muhammad, who's a Georgetown commit. So quite the team there at Greenwood. And certainly Hartville. Hartville's had a strong program here for the last number of years as well. Followed by Monroe City, the Thayer Bobcats out west at number 4. Followed by Summit Christian, Christian of O'Fallon, then Skyline, Stratford, Iberia, and Lynn, rounding out the top 10 in Class 3. For Class 4, Vashon, the Vashon Wolverines at number 1, followed by, once again, the New Madrid County Central Eagles. Then Miller Career Academy at number 4, that's MICDS, that's Country Day. Followed by Father Tolton, Mexico, Hollister, Blair Oaks, East Newton, and Center out of Kansas City. So New Madrid, once again, they're in the top 5 at number 2. And potential matchup, if they were to play out, Vashon would meet New Madrid County Central in the quarterfinals of that Class 4 state tournament. But a lot of basketball to be played for that matchup to realize there in the quarterfinals. Cardinal Ritter on top at number 5. They're the defending Class 3 state champions with that championship factor for the private schools. Cardinal Ritter jumps all the way to Class 5 this year, and they're on top at number 1, followed by DeSmet, Platte County, Webb City, University City, Warrensburg, Cape Notre Dame at number 7, followed by 8 Kearney, then Lafayette of St. Joseph, and Kirksville. And those are your state rankings for this week. And they don't reflect this week's games, so any losses in there certainly will probably change that up going into next week for those state rankings. And we're going to take one more break. We're going to take one more quick break. We're going to come back with that Bernie versus Dexter historic rivalry. We got some great historic facts provided by Barry Beecham, and we're going to come back with those. And also we're going to touch on our broadcast schedule going forward here on YHC as well as CMOSportZone.com. And we'll come back with that coming up.
If you or your loved one has disabilities that cause you to need a little help, Boot Hill Area Independent Living Services can provide the assistance you need. At Bales, we want you to have control of your life and assist you in thriving in an independent lifestyle. The Consumer-Directed Services Program allows you, the consumer, to choose who assists you in conducting your daily activities. Bales serves Stoddard, Dunklin, New Madrid, and Pemiscot counties. Call or visit our office in Kennett to see how we can help you maintain your independence.
And welcome back, and let's take a look at the historic rivalry of Stoddard County Activity Association conference foes. We've got Dexter versus Bernie, and coming off that game last night, a perfect opportunity to look back on the historic rivalry of Dexter and Bernie. This is provided by our good friend Barry Beecham, great historian of Southeast Missouri sports. If you don't follow him on Facebook, he's worth a great follow. Check him out, look him up on Facebook, and he posts a lot of great old pictures, newspaper clippings, articles, and anything historic with Southeast Missouri sports. He's on top of it. He's got a great archive and a collection, and he does a great job entertaining us basketball and certainly sports fans around Southeast Missouri. So check him out online. And he provided this to us last night. We want to go over the historic rivalry of Dexter and Bernie. And this goes all the way back to 1926, their first ever matchup. Going back to 1926, didn't quite get, last night's game was played during a pandemic. Not quite going back to the previous pandemic. I think it was, 1918, I believe it was. So not quite 2 games played in a pandemic, but close. Going back to 1926, Dexter defeated Bernie in overtime in their first ever matchup. Get this, 29-27. It just shows you the times that we've played the game in, and it was a 29-27 Dexter victory in overtime. It took an overtime just to get to 29-27, but pretty interesting there. The first ever matchup was Dexter over Bernie in overtime, 29-27. They also played that year in 26 again. Dexter defeated Bernie again, but they don't have a score on that one. But playing out the 20s, Dexter won 4-1 there in the 20s, 26 through 29. Bernie's lone victory was the next year in 27. Don't have a score, but Bernie defeated Dexter there in 27. Going to the 30s. For the decade, Dexter had the advantage over Bernie, 10-3. Dexter over Bernie, and just looking at some matchups here in 31, Dexter over Bernie, 27-17, and 32, 24-12. And in the same year, the Stoddard County tournament first round. I guess that might have been the first year of the Stoddard County tournament, possibly. Well, no, not necessarily. But in 32, Dexter over Bernie, 26-22 in the first round of the Stoddard County tournament. And even in 34, Dexter over Bernie, 21-8. I guess that was just, a rout, 21-8 at that point. That's almost like football scores here. But also that same year, Dexter over Bernie, 27-12. Nothing really, even in 1937, 16-13. Even the previous year in 36, that was Bernie over Dexter, 16-13. And then in 36, Bernie over Dexter, 15-12. And this is varsity as well, varsity only results. So there in 36 and 37, Bernie over Dexter, 15-12, and then 16-13. And then in that same year, Bernie over Dexter by forfeit in the semifinal of the Stoddard County tournament. Dexter used an ineligible player, so Dexter forfeited that game to Bernie. So a little intrigue, little intrigue there with the ineligible player by Dexter back in 37. That's what it was. The scandal of 37. Dexter with an ineligible player forfeits to Bernie. And then, pretty similar. But again, in the 30s, Dexter over Bernie 10-3 in that decade. And skipping ahead to the 40s now, starting to get a little bit more score here in the 40s. Just starting out in 1940, Dexter over Bernie 42-15. Then the next year in 41, Dexter over Bernie 50-29. Then again 50-22 that same year, and 26-22. Somehow, Dexter only scored half of what they were able to in the regular season. Defeated Bernie. Dexter defeated Bernie 26-22 in the first round of the county tournament in 41. Skipping ahead in 43, an overtime victory for Bernie. 26-24. I'd like to see what the regulation score was, but 26-24 in overtime. Actually didn't play in 44. Wonder what the story is behind that. I mean, it's conference opponents, and in 44 didn't even play each other. Might be a story behind that. Not sure. 1945, Dexter over Bernie 42-23, and then Dexter over Bernie again in the Stoddard County tournament 48-20, and 49. Quite a result there. Bernie over Dexter 37-7 in 1949. Strange. And then they played in the tournament championship. Bernie over Dexter 57-29. So Dexter more than tripled its point total from that regular season matchup. So in the 40s, Dexter got that advantage over Bernie 11-3. Into the 50s now. Really close games here. Really close games in 50, 31-29, Dexter over Bernie. Then skipping ahead to 53, Dexter over Bernie 26-25. So still some pretty low scores here in some of these years. Third place game in 1956, Bernie over Dexter after losing to Bernie. Bernie losing to Dexter. So in 56, Dexter defeated Bernie 51-35 in the regular season. Into the tournament third place game, Bernie defeated Dexter in a rematch 45-41. Going to the late 50s here, 1958, we're seeing some bigger scores here that we hadn't seen in the previous decades. Dexter over Bernie 73-59, and the next year 59, Bernie defeated Dexter 76-62. So seeing for the first time, pretty much since they started playing, scores into the 70s. I guess things really started to open up there into the late 50s, and I think that was the period when Puxico had their decent teams. I say decent, some great teams that played into, won some state championships. I believe those were in the 50s. So that might have been the era, that decade where Puxico may have really opened things up for the conference as a whole as well. So Dexter having the advantage over Bernie in the 50s, 9 games to 2. Into the 60s, seeing certainly in 1960 more points there. Dexter over Bernie 83-68. So that's the first 80-point game between these matchup. Either opponent scoring 80 points. Dexter over Bernie 83-68 in 1960. Then back down the next year, Dexter over Bernie 39-37. And then the third place game in 61, Dexter over Bernie 58-32. And skipping ahead to 1964, Dexter defeating Bernie 105-79. So certainly the first 100-point outing for either school. At 64, Dexter over Bernie 105-79. And then in 65, Bernie over Dexter in a close one, 75-72. Then in the tournament first round, Dexter over Bernie 83-69, avenging that regular season loss. And quite a rout here in 66. In 66, it was Dexter over Bernie 100-45. Quite a rout there. The Bearcats over the Mules. And then the next year, a closer one in 67, Dexter over Bernie 53-48. And then Bernie avenging that loss in the Class M Regional into the state tournament. Believe it or not, they played in the state tournament in Class M. That was medium. Yeah, at that point in history, you had SM and L, small, medium, large. Pretty simple there. Class M regional semifinals. Bernie defeated Dexter 45-43 to avenge that regular season loss. In 68, Dexter over Bernie 86-67 in the tournament first round. And the regular season game got snowed out there in 68. And here in 69, big year in 69, regular season matchup, Dexter over Bernie 65-54. And then they played again twice in the Stoddard County tournament first round. Dexter defeated Bernie 73-62 in overtime. And then again in the Class M regional quarterfinals, it was Dexter over Bernie 57-47. And in the 60s, Dexter had the advantage over Bernie 12-3. And matching up in state tournament play, you couldn't even imagine that today, but certainly was the case back then with only 3 classifications, small, medium, large, SM and L, there throughout the 60s. And into the 70s here, Dexter had the advantage big in the 70s, 13-1 over Bernie. Here we got a Bloomfield Christmas Tournament third place game in 70, Dexter over Bernie 65-51. That same year in 70. Dexter over Bernie 52-50, and then Dexter over Bernie again 62-52 in that Class M regional semifinal. And seeing quite a bit of scores there in the 70s and 80s, so certainly more scoring there into the 70s. Skip ahead to the 80s. We've got Bernie actually getting the advantage over Dexter for the first time in this rivalry in the 80s. And thinking back to the 80s, big-time teams there for Bernie throughout the 80s. And Bernie had the edge 16-6 over Dexter throughout the 80s. And here's one from 1980 over in the Twin Rivers Tournament semifinals. Bernie over Dexter 76-48. Big victory there. And then in the regular season, Bernie over Dexter 44-33. Then the next year in 81, in that same Twin Rivers Tournament Championship, Bernie over Dexter 65-54. And then again in 81, they played 4 times. We've seen them play upwards to 3 times, but 4 times in 81. In the Bloomfield Christmas Tournament quarterfinals, Bernie over Dexter 54-44. Regular season, Bernie over Dexter 77-58. Then in the Stoddard County Tournament first round, Bernie over Dexter 34-32. So 4 times in 1 year. That's quite the matchups there in 81. Then also it wasn't until 82 in the Stoddard County Tournament Championship, Dexter defeated Bernie in the 80s 63-45. And quite a matchup in 83. Bernie over Dexter 59-58 in double overtime in the regular season. And then Bernie defeated Dexter again in the Stoddard County Tournament first round 58-38. And we've got a couple tournament championships down the road here. In '86, Dexter over Bernie in the county championship, 59-54. Then again in '87, the next year, Dexter over Bernie, 61-54 in '87. Then in '88, once again, Bernie over Dexter, 57-53 in that county championship, tournament championship. So 16-6 advantage in the 80s, Bernie over Dexter. Skimming ahead to the 90s, some very, very good teams in the 90s. Not only for Bernie, but Dexter did as well. But Bernie had some of their best teams they ever had there, certainly in the mid-90s. And Bernie had the edge over Dexter in the 90s, 13-7. And certainly looking ahead to the 93-94 teams for Bernie were excellent. Bernie got the edge over Dexter 54-47 in '93, and Bernie over Dexter again in the Stoddard County Tournament semifinals 72-65. Skipping ahead to '94, 62-59, Bernie over Dexter, and in the tournament championship in '94, Bernie over Dexter 80-56. And quite a matchup in '95 the next year in the tournament quarterfinals, Bluefield Christmas tournament quarterfinals. In a double overtime, Dexter over Bernie 86-85. Then matching up another couple times, Bernie avenged that loss in the regular season 75-71. And then in the county tournament championship, Dexter over Bernie 58-57. So that was quite the rivalry there in 1995, where Dexter got 2 of 3 over Bernie there in '95. And just playing out 13-7 in the 90s, Bernie over Dexter. And into the 2000s, Dexter had the advantage over Bernie 9-4, 9 wins to Dexter, 9 wins for Dexter, 4 wins to Bernie. And what a game in 2000. Dexter, that was Dexter's run here. We're looking at starting in '99 and then certainly in the early 2000s. 2000, you're looking at the Brett Hales, Shannon Wright led Dexter Bearcats in 2000, 105-52. Dexter over Bernie, and I think at this point, in the early 2000s, I believe it was Bernie kind of having kind of their toughest time. Some of their toughest times there in the early 2000s, if I can't remember. But in 2001, again, Dexter over Bernie, 76-38, and that's the Hale and Wright senior years. That had a great run. And then into 2002, Dexter over Bernie 66-45. And skipping ahead, we didn't see him in the county tournament until 2004. Dexter had a pretty good run there, went to the state Final Four. Dexter over Bernie 73-21 there in 2004. Then again in the tournament first round, Dexter over Bernie 68-14. So some pretty lean years there for pretty tough years there in the early 2000s for the Bernie Mules. Then skipping ahead, had a close one in 2006. Bernie actually defeated Dexter in 2006, 60-59. Sure, that was a big win for Bernie there in 2006 after taking their lumps throughout the 2000s from Dexter. 1-point victory in 2006. Now to 2007, Bernie defeats Dexter again, 57-53. And then the tournament first round, Dexter avenged that loss over Bernie, 72-65. Then to 2008, Dexter over Bernie 57-48. And skipping ahead to 2009, this is kind of entering into the YHC era now. We were around, certainly I was around the 2009, I believe, starting out. So Bernie over Dexter 68-41 in the Christmas tournament semifinals. And Bernie defeating Dexter once again in the regular season in 2009, 58-46. So that rounds out the 2000s. Dexter with the edge over Bernie 9-4. Now here in the 2010s, starting out with 2010, I can probably remember back to these games here as we cover these on YHC. In 2010, this is going back to Alan Flanagan days. I remember this, the Alan Flanagan era here, and I believe that's around the Jordan McGowan era. Those kids there for Bernie as well. Bernie defeating Dexter in the Christmas tournament semifinals, 57-53. And it's going to be a sweep for the Bernie Mules in 2010. Bernie over Dexter 57-51. The regular season and the tournament championship, the county tournament championship, Bernie over Dexter in a close one, 47-46. And I can remember that one. That was a late bucket by Bernie. Can't remember who had that. but it was a bucket in the paint right with a few seconds to go to give Bernie the win over Dexter there in 2010 in that county tournament championship. I believe that was in Bloomfield. Yeah, it was in Bloomfield. That was before the Bearcat Center. The Bearcat Center came out, I think, in 2010, I believe it was, before they actually had the tournament alternate between Dexter and Bloomfield. Into 2011, Bernie defeated Dexter 61-55 in the regular season, and the Stoddard County Tournament Championship, though, was Dexter over Bernie 56-49. In 2012, Dexter over Bernie 68-61 the regular season county tournament championship. Dexter over Bernie again 54-40. In 2013, only a regular season matchup, 54-53 Dexter over Bernie. In 2014, Bernie over Dexter 50-36. In 2015, Dexter over Bernie 66-54. And the county tournament championship, Bernie over Dexter 52-45, avenging that regular season loss. In 2016, these are just a few years ago, Dexter over Bernie in the regular season 65-42, and then Dexter winning the Stoddard County Tournament first round 80-54. And then in 2017, Dexter over Bernie in a close one in the regular season 62-59. Then in 2018, the regular season, Dexter over Bernie 55-44. And the current county tournament championship 53-50, Bernie over Dexter, avenging that regular season loss. And then in 2019, Dexter over Bernie in the regular season 54-51. And in the county tournament championship, Dexter over Bernie 61-42 over in Bloomfield. Then last year, that wraps up the 2010s, and that's Dexter over Bernie 11-7. 11 wins to Bernie's 7 wins. And now in the 2020s, starting just last year, the first year, Dexter over Bernie in the Christmas tournament semifinals, and that matchup there that went down to the wire, Dexter had to have a flurry of points to pull out that win over Bernie in that semifinal, 58-56. And then Bernie avenged that loss in the regular season, 60-55, and that was here in Dexter in the regular season. And then the county tournament championship back in Dexter, it was Dexter defeating Bernie 56-54. That came down to the end there in that county tournament championship last year. That was, I think, one of the best runs we've had. That Dexter-Bernie rivalry that we've certainly been a part of here at YHC was last year in 2020. You had the Christmas tournament semifinal that came down to the very end, a 2-point win by Dexter, and then a 5-point narrow victory in the regular season by Bernie over Dexter at Dexter, and then back at Dexter in the county tournament championship, Dexter defeating Bernie only by 2 points. And that's about as good as we've had it that I've certainly encountered over the last 12 years here with YHC. Was the 2020 games last year between Dexter and Bernie. And the all-time series, Dexter leads unofficially. Barry has it down as 94-54, so quite the advantage for Dexter over Bernie in that rivalry. But since 1980s going forward, Bernie leads the series 41-35. So you see, some very good teams for Bernie in the 80s and 90s, where they've got the edge over Dexter 41-35. And the longest winning streak is 17. That's from the 68 season through the 78 season. So pretty much 11 years there for Dexter, winning 17 straight through that era. And then 8 for Bernie. That's from 79, the very next year, starting in 79 through the 82 regular season games. So they played quite a bit over those 3 to 4 years. And a streak of 8 wins for the Bernie Mules over that stretch. And since 1950, 44 meetings between the two schools have been decided by 6 points or less. It's quite a bit since 1950. And then 5 overtime games during the series as a whole. And then 16 times they have met for the Stoddard County Championship. We've seen that quite a bit over the years as well. Here's some other tidbits here from the 1950s. The game has been played usually in the early or mid-January. That's certainly the case. And since the 82 season, it's been on a Friday night. So some big Friday night games between those two schools. And there you go. That's from Barry Beecham providing this. Handed this off to us at the game last night. We appreciate Barry for giving this to us to go over in depth. I'd like to put that in graphic. That's a lot of graphic work to put up. Hopefully I was a little detailed but also concise going through that rivalry, going all the way back to 1926 of that Bernie-Dexter rivalry. It's been a fun rivalry, certainly, since we've been a part of it here on YHC in the late 2000s. And a lot of history there, just down the road, about 8 miles from each other on Highway 25. And it's always fun to look back on these rivalries, certainly in our area. We appreciate, again, Barry Beecham hooking us up with that, with those statistics and historic matchups between Dexter and Bernie. And let's before we go today, let's take a look at our broadcast schedule going forward, the games you can look forward to here on YHC for this next week. We got another busy week here on YHC. Monday night, for the 18th, we got Woodland at Dexter, a Stoddard County matchup there between Woodland and Dexter at the Bearcat Event Center. Then Tuesday night, we got Bloomfield at Bernie, another Stoddard County matchup there. Then Thursday night, we're in the Boot Hill Conference down in Campbell, South Pemiscot at Campbell. And then Friday night, big matchup in the SEMO Conference, Dexter at New Madrid County Central. Certainly, I would say probably will determine home court advantage in the potential district tournament. And this year it's a little different. There's no tournament sites. The top seed will actually host the game, much like football season. So the winner of that game could very well have the home court advantage for a potential district championship game. So that'll be a big one, not only for that home court advantage, but also the conference. The SEMO conference could very well come down to that matchup potentially. We'll see how it plays out, but a big matchup between there. Whoever wins that will have certainly a good chance of coming out potentially with the regular season SEMO conference title. So those are the 4 matchups to look forward to this week here on YHC. And over on SEMO Sports Zone on the Go SEMO Fiber Network, we've got our broadcast schedule for this next week. 2 games. Tuesday night, we got Notre Dame at Cape Central. Another big SEMO conference matchup there. Notre Dame, I believe, still undefeated in the conference. I might be wrong on that. Might have 1 loss, but I think they've been undefeated so far. And that'll be a rematch of the Southeast Missouri Christmas Tournament Championship. That'll be Tuesday night up at Cape Central. Then Thursday night, we got 3 games. Thursday night, Advance at Scott City. And then Friday, Advance at Meadow Heights. Those are the 3 matchups to look forward to, not only on SEMOSportZone.com, but also on the Go SEMO Fiber Network with Go SEMO Fiber, Channel 95, Local 95 on Go SEMO Fiber. And all those games that we share with you, whether it's on YHC or the Local 95 on Go SEMO Fiber, they are on SEMOSportZone.com. We'll have that. Hopefully we'll have that website to go by Monday up and fully ready, and also debuting that top 25 poll on Monday as well. So that's all we got for you for today. Full show today. Almost went an hour, so a lot to get to, and always fun to get into the historic facts with the rivalries such as we did with Dexter Bernie, and also the conference matchups that we detailed and all the highlights that we could bring as well. And we're going to wrap it up for today, and we'll see you next time, next Saturday. And we're looking to have some guests going forward as well into the Sports Roundtable duration of the season. So look forward to next week's show, and until then, have a great week. Take care, everyone.